everyone. How are you doing?
Good to see you, mate.
It's a bit hot, isn't it? Can you hear me?
Testing, we're here, yes.
Okay, cool. Hey? Okay, hi. Okay, I'm Jane Austen, and welcome to a hopefully thought-provoking conversation with Daniele on how to become a better ally. I'm going to let Daniele introduce himself, because I'm sure you don't want to watch me reading his bio. So if you'd like to tell us what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniele Fiandaca. I am founder of Token Man Consulting. I used to work in advertising. I left advertising about a decade ago now to actually move into the inclusion and diversity space. So I run a consultancy called Token Man Consulting. We do two things, really. We do inclusive leadership, and we actually help companies better engage men with inclusion and diversity.
And he's also a part-time manicurist. But I just wondered, Daniele, what does being an ally mean to you, and why is it relevant for everyone and not just men?
I'm going to give two kind of answers. So, firstly, I think allyship means, the first thing I'd say is allyship means recognizing that the system is broken, and that the system is broken, and that understanding that means that women and other historically marginalised groups will often find it much harder, and there'll be huge barriers for them in the workplace. And so for me, the first thing is actually as an ally is recognising that what we need to do is change that system. So while everyone can be an ally to an individual one-to-one, I think you're only a true ally if you're helping to change that system. So a lot of the work I do is actually uncovering, getting men, I do a lot of work, men-only work, and I'm spending most of my time trying to get them to see what they haven't been seeing for most of their career. So I'm an ex-CEO. I was a CEO 12 years ago. I just didn't know what I didn't know. I thought I was a great leader. I thought I was a really nice guy. I was a shit leader. Because the reality was I didn't understand in-group, out-group. I didn't understand unconscious bias. I didn't understand what active inclusion looked like. And so a lot of the work I'm doing is getting people to understand what that looks like.
Great. And how, as allies, can we create a space of inclusion and equity, especially keeping the momentum up that we had before Trump was elected?
I think the first thing I would say to all, and actually it's perfect what I was saying, because you asked that question before. I mean, no, you asked the question in terms of male ally. It's not just for women and other historically marginalised groups. I run a male allyship program. Our male allyship definition is different to anyone else's definition, because we actually have allyship is supporting women, other historically marginalised groups, and anyone who's struggling. So that does mean that I can be an ally to someone that also looks like me. Because I think that's the biggest issue we have, is we've defined allyship as something that I don't deserve. And actually the reality is everyone deserves support. Equity just recognises that some people need more support than others. So what we have to do is, and that means that this is relevant to everyone in this room, what we have to do is we have to listen and understand other people's experiences. Because when we can listen and understand their experiences, we can work out, okay, what power and influence do I have to help actually break down some of the barriers that person currently has? So fundamentally, it's listening, understanding, and then going, okay, what influence do I have? We just heard literally the speaker before about, the difference everyone can make. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm just so lucky. And the truth is, I couldn't have said this when I was in advertising. I get to positively impact someone's life every day. I know that happens. I know it, and that is an amazing place to be. And it has, to be honest, and I have to keep reminding myself, because some of it's really hard. If anyone follows me on LinkedIn, please do. I post every day. The last year and a half has been a journey. Some days have been really tough, because a lot of what I'm talking about often is something that some people just don't want to listen to. They don't want to listen to the fact that men are struggling. They don't want to listen to the fact that actually, and let's be really clear, all of my work is about creating more inclusive, equitable and diverse workplaces. But part of that is actually understanding that we need to meet men where they're at. And often that means that men aren't ready to be allies. they sometimes just need support. And so I do quite a lot of work just supporting men. So it's about understanding how can we give people support to actually help everyone go on that journey to help us change the system.
Cool, thank you. Many women want to bring men into equity work. What's the best way of doing that? What strategies have you seen succeed or bomb?
I think it just comes on for the last thing. Meet men where they're at. So I run lots of men's sessions. I run at least 3 men's only sessions every week. We start every session with the feelings wheel. How many of you have read the brilliant book by Bell Hooks, The Will to Change? It's a brilliant book. Too few people. Please read it. It's a brilliant book. Bell Hooks was the first person that actually recognised the damage the patriarchy did on men. An amazing feminist. She totally understood it. So I think for me, it's really understand where people are at and actually listen to them as well, and then start to work out how you can engage them in. Let's be really clear. I would say about a third of the workforce are ready to lean in. Okay, so those people, you need to help and support, give them the tools to be better allies. The one question I get the most from male allies, tell me what to do. That's what I hear the whole time. And I said, I can't tell you what to do because you've got to work it out for yourself. Someone said, I was on a panel the other day, and someone said, what comes first? Is it the allies doing the work, or is it the allies learning to be better? And I'm 100%, we have to do the work before we become allies. If we're not doing the work, we're just going to break, because we're going to do wrong shit in the way of we're not going to actually do it in the right way. So coming back, I spend a lot of time working with men to get them to open their feelings. We've created, Bell Hooks talks about in a book, is we've actually created a society where men have become disconnected with their feelings. And so it's very hard to have a world where you're an ally and asked to be empathetic to someone when you can't actually connect with your own feelings. How can you feel someone else's feelings if you can't feel your own feelings? So I do a lot of work getting men to reconnect with their feelings. And the positive, and hopefully this is a positive talk, the positive thing is when we do give men the space, boy, do they take it. And when I say that, I was actually with 10 senior leaders yesterday talking how they can be a better father in the workplace or a better carer in the workplace. And every single one of them will commit to doing what they said they're going to do at the end of that space. I mean, I run Brave Spaces every month. My last 2 Brave Spaces, and again, this is not bigging myself up, the value comes from the people in the room. They're coaching spaces, basically. The feedback score for the last 2 Brave Spaces, one was on male friendship and community, and I can't remember what the other one was on, but they were 9.9 out of 10 and 9.7. This is 10 men who are strangers getting on a call for an hour, and their feedback is 9.9 out of 10. It is so powerful when we give them it. The challenge that we have is we don't often, as men, and I'm going to talk specifically as men, but we're here to talk about animal, but as men we don't tend to prioritize the most important things in life. And I know I'm lucky because I've gone on this journey, because with my closest friends, we now talk about the shit that matters.
Thank you, that's a really good answer. I was thinking, you brought up the patriarchy, which of course was quite a long time now, I believe 1750, so none of the men in the room were responsible for the patriarchy. But I want to have a look at female leaders and female bosses and how women take allyship into the workplace. Do men have a very hard time because it's fashionable at the moment to say, oh, he's just a middle-aged white man or another man failing up? Do we as women have to do some work on ourselves and our prejudices?
So look, I'm going to just pick up, because again, we're talking about allyship, how do we bring people on the journey? The first thing is, this room, I'm going to talk about the patriarchy. Any other room, I wouldn't talk about the patriarchy. Because I know, just mention the patriarchy, I know how many men that turns off. So I'm really careful with my language, and that's my advice to everyone else. If saying that, but we know the patriarchy's there, we understand where it comes from, but if you're going to say it and it's going to put that person you're speaking to off, why say it? Just talk about the system. Yeah, I used it because we're in this room, right? And you all understand it, and I don't need to push anyone away. I think coming back to that point, I think the reality is, and this is where I get a lot of the pushback. The reality is we all, and I appreciate I'm sitting here as a position of privilege, but what I've learned is in order to accelerate change, we all need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. What's happened is we all exist in a system where, which has made us all have a certain point of view. So I know we're probably running out of time already, but I'm also, I didn't talk about it at the beginning, so I'm also co-founder of Hard as Nails. Has anyone heard of Hard as Nails in this room? John has, yeah, it's a few people, thank you. So Hard as Nails is an initiative we started to get men to paint their nails, to have meaningful conversations around healthy masculinity, harmful stereotypes, and male mental health. And the pushback that we get comes equally from women as it does from men. Yeah? Let men be men. Don't take these feminine skills away from them. And painting nails is a feminine thing, without realizing just the harm that those stereotypes put in. So a lot of the work I do is actually understanding the man box. So I sit within a man box. I'm going to Pride next week, hence my nails. I'm going to Pride on Saturday. I'm in Pride next Saturday. I was in Pride last year, and because I believe in breaking stereotypes, I wore a skirt for the second time in my life. I thought there'd be loads of men at Pride wearing skirts. I was one of the only men wearing a skirt. Within 5 days, I was being called a paedophile on Twitter because I was wearing a Childline T-shirt. I mean, but this is, I know, right. I mean, that's the reality of the space a lot of us will sit in, and those stereotypes just do so much harm. And so for me, and again, for the men in this room, thank you for coming. If any of you want your nails painted after this, I have committed to doing 100 men's nails. You will get to be part of a 100-man project. And John, I'm hoping you might be stepping forward. But I'm more than happy to paint your nails today if you want to step forward and become part of that project.
Shellac or normal polish?
Do you know what? I don't do gels. Gels kill my nail. I just do polish.
Can I ask you now, what's the number one thing that you're asked by clients about what to address in the workplace? What is the number one issue that you have?
I'm going to call it. Firstly, I don't get asked by clients much at all.
No.
I'm going to be really open and honest here. I have close to zero income from next month because the industry still has not woken. It hasn't learned. I hate to say it. It hasn't learned from Trump getting in. It hasn't learned why some of those things happen. Again, let's be really clear. DEI is not the reason Trump got in. But there are elements on which the industry, the DEI industry, has not done things well. And actually engaging men in a meaningful way, they've totally failed at. Absolutely, totally failed at. And so if you don't agree with me, come and tell me, because I want to hear your case studies. But from what I've seen, and the worst thing is it just hasn't learned, and it's still not going in. So the first question is they don't tend to ask. When they do ask, they just basically say, can you help us go on our journey to better engage men? And once you do that, you're on the journey to making change. So my first ever client 7 years ago, Coca-Cola Europe Pacific Partner, that was their brief to us. Really simply, how do we better engage men? And Coca-Cola Europe Pacific Partners, I don't know whether you know much about them, but they are seen as now one of the leaders within the space in terms of creating change. And unless we bring men on that journey, we're not going to create the change we need in what I would call male-dominated industries.
If you're worried about your male boss, or indeed your female boss, as you know, women are as unfortunately guilty of some things, how can you best approach your boss to have a better relationship?
It's a really good question. I think, do you know what? I would just ask them questions. Everything I've learned. If anyone ever says anything you don't like, or anything, or they say something sexist, or they say something that makes you feel uncomfortable, ask them questions. Don't ever say that. Just ask questions. And so I think with your boss, just ask questions. Get them to understand a bit more about them. It's really interesting. If anyone meets me talking to a senior male leader, they must think my mind is going everywhere because I ask so many different questions. But I'm trying to find the route in. So if I look at a senior leadership team, without exception, if I'm talking about 12, 15 people, one of them has someone in their family who is gay. One of them has in their family someone who's autistic. Someone has in their family someone who's transitioning or is non-binary. Once you start getting those things out and then start asking them, what's it like for them? What are they feeling? All of a sudden they can start becoming connected to that and start realizing, actually, I have a duty and a responsibility to make sure my workplace is supporting someone like that. And don't get me wrong, it shouldn't just because it's someone in your family. I'm not a, I hear a lot of people, fathers saying, of course I get gender equality. I've got a daughter. Well, like men haven't had daughters for hundreds of years. I don't have kids. That's not why I do what I do. I do it because I'm a hacker and I want to solve problems. And it's a fundamental issue. And I think the other thing I would also talk about, there's been a lot of talk around wording. The one thing I would, and it keeps on coming back, is the two words I would recommend you use. A lot of this is just respect and fairness. And if we just use those two words really do resonate with leaders in a different way to some of the words we use in EDI don't resonate.
Thank you. Hey, we've got to stop there, but Daniele will be set up outside for like a quick polish, quick shape. Any advice for a workshop? So please find the man in the pink suit. And thank you for your time.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Be emboldened to be a better ally. The resounding message. Thank you both so much.